What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be talking about what baseball specific training actually means. You're going to learn a ton from this video. I'm going to be going over a lot of different points that I could honestly make a ton of videos on, and I probably will, but for now I'm going to keep it kind of general, but you're going to learn a ton what it actually means to train baseball specifically. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kyle Kringen. I train and develop pitchers all around the world, fully remote, to gain velocity and ultimately become the best versions of themselves. So if you are looking for one-on-one coaching, then click the link in the description and apply for my remote program. The first thing to talk about is this pyramid, which is essentially pillars of athletic performance, and we'll get into it. So at the bottom, I kind of put dashed lines around nutrition. I'm not going to talk about nutrition, but at the very core, having good nutrition is going to be the absolute foundation to build upon for an athlete, because that's something that you do every single day. You might not do all the other things every single day, but what you put on your body is going to ultimately make or break you. So we won't get into it in this video, but nutrition is super important. The first pillar, movement quality. What does that mean? Essentially, at the very bottom, at the very foundation, you need to have a foundation of movement. And when I'm talking about movement, I'm talking about being able to properly perform basic human movement patterns, meaning push, pull, squat, hinge, lunge, and carry. So if you have an issue of properly training those human movement patterns, then you will have essentially nothing to build off of, because knowing how to do that properly and activate the right muscles and be stable in certain positions, being able to create a good pillar, being able to posteriorly tilt the hips, and just having overall body awareness, that is essential to build off of. Strength, mobility, and work capacity. So strength is going to be essential for building on that movement quality. So I mentioned all of the human movement patterns. We want to establish a strength base for every single movement pattern. And that's what's going to, again, keep on layering the foundation of this athlete that we can then build upon. So mobility paired with strength. If you have a bunch of strength, but you don't have any mobility, then you won't be able to fully express that strength through a full range of motion. So being able to have good mobility is super important. And lastly, work capacity. So by definition, work capacity is the body's ability to positively tolerate training of a given intensity or duration. So essentially that is your engine. If you are going into strength training sessions, let's say an inexperienced lifter is going to be able to tolerate a lot less training, a lot less strength work than an advanced lifter. So their requirements to honestly just grow in general is going to be actually less, because any kind of stimulus is going to be enough to cause growth, whereas advanced lifters need a different type of stimulus. Because of their increased work capacity, they can handle a ton more and should have a completely different type of program versus a newer athlete. You get those two things, you're building that base up. Once you have these two foundational things, that's when you can get more specific. We're not going to talk about baseball specific yet. This is general. This is honestly for every single athlete out there. Not just sport athletes, but honestly humans as well. Speed, power, and explosiveness. And when we're talking about these things, it's also regarding the human movement patterns, right? So we're talking about speed and power and explosiveness through squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, carry, right? So if we can do all of those foundational movement patterns and functions of the body as well, so rotational things, spinal movements, if we can do these things with quickness and power and build on the strength foundation that we've created, because you need strength and mass to actually have something to layer on that power. You are just training these two bottom pillars here. That's pretty general still. When you start to layer on the speed and power and explosiveness, you're starting to get more specific. And then skill work, again, we're going to be very general here. So skill work is really just sport specific. Whatever is actually going to pertain to your sport, that is at the very pinnacle of the whole pyramid, because you need all of these foundational things in order to best do your skill work. So all of this is going to make the skill work much more easily doable, essentially. Okay, so now let's talk about being baseball specific. If you have all of these working for you, you're going to be a pretty dang good athlete. What are the qualities that we're actually trying to gain as baseball athletes? What are the demands of the sport? We want to be durable, pitcher specifically too. We want to be very durable, meaning strong and stable. Stable in certain positions. We talk about positions a lot in pitching, right? So being able to be strong in certain single leg positions, and then durability, talking about joint integrity too. So elbow joint, shoulder joint, knees, hips, all of these we want to be strong and durable because they're going to be repeating actions at high velocity over and over and over again. So we want that durability. If you are a baseball athlete with no strength base and you lack stability and you lack strength and you're repeating the demands of the sport over and over and over again, that is where you're going to run into injuries because you didn't have the foundational things that create durable athletes. The next thing, explosive and twitchy. Pitching, throwing in general, running for, home to first. It's explosive, it's fast, it's happening just like that. Swinging a baseball bat, it's happening really, really quickly, within, a second even. So if we are not training to be explosive and twitchy I mean fast twitch, as in we're training type 2X muscle fibers that are associated with being extremely, extremely fast, training a certain energy system. If we are not training to be explosive and twitchy in the gym and trying to adopt these qualities, then we're going to be slow. The next thing, we want to be mobile and loose, right? Because you'll see often younger athletes who haven't gotten into the gym yet, they're very loose because they really just haven't done anything to get them tight yet. They're still reaping the benefits of being very pliable. They haven't adopted the adult qualities of being hunched over and tight and compressed, right? So a lot of kids move very well and then they lose those qualities. So as you age and as you get deeper into your career, we never want to lose those qualities. We want to train them as we are becoming older, more experienced athletes. Lateral and rotational power, those are demands of baseball specifically because everything is rotational, right? So we want to be very strong and powerful in the frontal plane, moving side to side, moving laterally. The spine is going through a lot of different functions as we are performing the sport. So we want to have power through all of these different planes. If your program does not have you trying to achieve these qualities, then you're missing out. Now let's talk about the common problems that I have personally seen over and over and over again, talking to a ton of athletes, working with a ton of athletes. These are the problems that they have because their program lacks aspects essentially, or maybe they don't have a program at all and these are just problems that they deal with. But these are problems that are directly aligned with not having a good complete program. So being fragile, and fragile in the sense that there's a ton of injuries in high school baseball and college baseball, and that comes with not having that durability that I talked about, the joint integrity. You're doing all of the demands of the sport, but your body physically cannot withstand the demands of throwing and the demands of what the sport requires, essentially. So tight and limited in their movement, limited in their mobility, right? They've gotten to the point where they're no longer reaching, or they're no longer able to reap the benefits of being like a very pliable and loose athlete. They started training and got them tighter, right? And they got them very tense, right? Muscles get tense, muscles get worked. If they avoid mobility work, they avoid stretching, then they're going to get tense and they're going to be limited in their ability to move, potentially causing them to throw slow because they can't access deeper positions anymore. Slow moving. So again, this comes in line with training improperly. Right? We want to be fast and twitchy, right? So if you're training to be slow, meaning you're training like a bodybuilder or a power lifter, or the weight is just moving really slow, you're doing the wrong rep ranges, higher rep ranges, slow, controlled, longer sets, time under tension, you're going for pumps. All of this is bad if you're doing it over an extended period of time or for the entire annual year of training. If you are completely avoiding training to be explosive and twitchy, you're going to be very much missing out on a huge component of the sport, and you're going to end up probably capping out at the very most, probably the low to mid 80s if you train like a bodybuilder and maybe you have really clean mechanics, but your body physically is not explosive and twitchy. So you're going to just be a slow moving, good moving athlete. Maybe you have mass on you too, but it's not actually helping you throw harder. Undersized, big problem. If you don't have the actual mass to layer on strength and speed and power, then you're never actually going to have the ability to produce a lot of force. There's a ceiling for all of this, right? If you're 160 pounds and you max out your ceiling of how hard you can hit the baseball or how hard you can throw the baseball, you've reached the ceiling essentially. Your mechanics aren't going to help you anymore. Let's say you have perfect mechanics, but you're just 160 pounds. You're not going to hit the ball as hard as a guy who's in the same boat as you, but is 180 pounds. That guy is going to outperform you every day of the week. So you need to put on mass, and then layer on all the things in the pyramid. That's why nutrition's at the bottom. You need to be eating the right things, gaining quality lean mass so that you can layer on all this stuff and become an elite athlete. Poor movement and body awareness. Again, at the bottom here. So if guys just don't have a good sense of how to move properly, how do you expect them to transfer any of that movement onto the field and understand what their body is doing through these fluid and very sport specific movements, right? If they don't have the stability, the mobility, the strength to get in certain positions, then you can't expect them to understand what to do with their bodies when it comes time to actually compete. Lastly, too general. So this kind of goes in line with training like a bodybuilder. Again, the strength work and the movement quality. You're training very generally. Maybe you're training body parts specifically. A lot of problems I see are with guys' programs just focusing on body parts or certain splits like push-pull legs. They don't actually get into the demands of the sport in their training, so they just train very general stuff. Maybe they're using Smith machines, maybe they're using just any type of machine in the gym, and they're actually avoiding free weights and certain positions that they should be training for the sport. They're avoiding it completely, and then they just get stronger generally, but it doesn't actually translate to the qualities that we want as baseball athletes. I hope you got a ton of value out of that video. Again, I work with athletes remotely on gaining all of these qualities so they can become much better athletes specifically for the sport, so they can be strong, durable, mobile, powerful, explosive, and gain quality lean mass. Also, they can end up throwing harder, sometimes even hitting the ball harder if you're a two-way player. If you are tired of trying to figure it out all on your own and you want somebody to help guide you and show you the path, the right way to program your training, whether it's off season, in season, doesn't matter. If you want somebody by your side showing you how to do everything the right way, the right intentions for everything, then click the link in the description and apply for one-on-one coaching. It'll ask you some questions and see if you're the right fit for the program. If you seem like a good fit for the program, then book a call with me and we'll talk more in depth about your situation and how I can help. That's all I got for today. Hope you have a great one. God loves you.